Alright, today we're going to show you some additional design tips for UX designers or user experience designers. First tip I'm going to provide to you is to take advantage of design patterns. The principle of similarity states that we tend to group objects that have similar shape, color, and shadows. This gives us the perfect justification to turn these similar elements or shapes, sizes, and whatnot into their own respective design patterns. One popular design pattern that's really easy to incorporate is the card. Simply identify a key component in your app, then present it as a card. Then the user sees the shape and style. A second, third, and fourth time, they'll recognize it as that much easier. Well, do you need to represent a project in your app? Use a card. Maybe the shape is like a file folder. Have a photo to represent it, or an icon or symbol in short. And then use a card, maybe make it look like an old man or something of a significant in shape or symbolism or meaning. Now, second, work with the fold. The principles of closure tells us that to perceive the objects as being whole, even they're incomplete, which comes in handy when you are working around the page fold. If your context extends below the infamous page fold, don't worry if it looks obviously cropped. When a user sees the cropped content, they'll naturally scroll the complete shape formed in their minds. Of course, you'll need to make sure that the content you're cropping fits a particular shape, like a box or block of text, so the users know what to anticipate or to expect, so that there won't be any trouble on that. The principle of closure shows that we don't have to show most or all of the information. Instead, in a better way, let the user's eyes fill the remainder with their imagination and lead them towards to further explore. Now, our next tip that I'll provide, you need to learn how to balance your layout. Learn to find the principle of equilibrium or symmetry. Says that it's perpetually pleasing to divide objects into an even manner of symmetrical parts. I love this concept because it's so simple yet so helpful. I recently designed some of my works. I incorporate most of my works with this principle here. As you can see in most of the designs I just made with the Instagram clone, or some of the designs I made for certain games or certain projects, that's what I do. So, on our next design tip, which will be animate. The principles of common fate states that we perceive objects as lines that move in the same direction. This is one reason adding animation to designs can be really beneficial. It brings out the life in the design. A menu that slides in from the side of a page demonstrates a relationship between all the links in the menu through their synchronized or cohesive movement. The principle of common fate helps users to connect various components of your design, perceiving them in an organized, orderly manner. Now, on the next portion, we will use subtle lines to connect components. The principle of continuity states that we consider the objects group if they're aligned within an object. Sometimes, several components may stretch across the entire width of the screen. At a glance, their connection might not be obvious, even if they're perfectly aligned. To make it more obvious, connect them with a subtle line to draw the user's eye. Well, to draw it into the direction that we want them to draw in. So, the principle of continuity allows a designer to be read easily like lines from a paragraph or text. Now, next, we're going to use flatness, not glossiness. Well, we're going to use flatness over glossiness. The principle of good gestalt. That's what it says here. The flat design doesn't rely on heavy drop shadows, extreme gradients, or complex or vibrant colors, or simple complex lighting effects, all of which can distract the user from their purpose or what it is intended to do. Instead of thinking about what is clicking a button will do, they can get up in irrelevant questions like, what material is that button? Or what glass or metal? How many lights are shining in it? What directions are they shining from? Does the shadow correspond the angle of light? Following the principle of good gestalt or flatness will help your design communicate more effectively through simplicity. We prefer things that are simple, clean, and ordered, so that you will be able to provide this experience that was intended to be positive for the user. Now, lastly, we have to be consistent. The principle of past experience states the elements that were grouped together in the past will be seen in the way in the future. This explains the value of consistency in the design. So as you can see, there are different designs that we can make from different kinds of designs here. As you can see, you can see some consistency when it comes to the social networking sites, to certain buttons that look the same, or they have an elegant, almost equilibrium of the shapes that they're using throughout the portion there, such as the buttons, such as the commands, and such as the text and the font. So there is consistency to the design. Now that I managed to provide all of the necessary things that we need to know about the tips, I'll see you in the next lecture, and happy designing.